Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to route out this little bee template. You can just about see him there. We're going to route it out onto some rough old fencing wood. Spent 5 minutes just sanding it down and it comes up really nice. I've used this on many occasions and I certainly have no issues. For what you pay for your fencing wood, it works out fine. As always for me, we've got our little template sorted. We've stuck it down with a bit of painter's tape. I use carbon paper. And if you just slot that underneath there, and you take 5 minutes of your time, literally just to draw around it all, and that transfers the image nicely onto our piece of wood. Now on this one, I've actually used tracing paper. So we've got the image on our tracing paper, and I've literally flipped it over, and we can use the other side, and we've drawn the same image out again. So we're basically going to have two of the same bee, and this is for a little space I have on my gate, and I have something going down the middle. So we'll have one bee coming in from one direction and one from the other. So two for the price of one on this one. So there's our image transferred. Remember, carbon and trace works for me. There's other methods if you want to do a bit of research on how to transfer your image, but I've certainly got no issue with that carbon and trace. Take a couple of minutes just to shade in the areas that you want to remove. We'll take all his face out, take round the eyes and a couple of strips there, and then them two sections in the wings. And then we'll put paint into all these, bit of white for the wings, yellow inside there, white for the eyes and a yellow for the face. And once it's all nicely sanded down, we'll see as regards to maybe oil on the outer framework, or we might paint that black. But basically we've got two of the same image there. As always for me, I like to use CNC bits, nice little small pieces like so, little bits. I think that's a 20 degree on that one. They do have a small shaft on them, a 3.175mm. So to fit a 1/4 inch router you need a 6.35 router adapter collet. Basically it's just like a little tube, and you slide your CNC bit into there. That's now got a 1/4 inch shaft on, 6.35mm, and that will fit your 1/4 inch router no problem. I'll use this to go around all my lines just to separate the two pieces that we're going to remove and the piece that's going to stay. Inset, I like to go just inside the line, never route out on the line itself, because when you get smaller sections, you can find one up here maybe, as you're on the line there and the line there, you're just going to alter that bit in between. So up to the line and up to the line. If it was outset and we're removing all the backer, we'll route out up to line. Simple that way. We'll do all our lines with that, all the bits that we want to remove. Once we've done that, we can safely remove the CNC bit from the adapter collet. And I like to use these end milling bits. These are all from eBay or Amazon. It's not too small, this one today, so we can get one at a nice size. And then if you just slot it into the same adapter, up to that little barrier. They do come without the barrier on, if you're a bit concerned. There's one without the barrier. It's basically exactly the same bit. And we'll set it to 3mm, the same as the lines we've used. And we'll use this to remove all the shaded areas. Once that's all nicely done, we'll do a general tidy up with a flexi cable on a Dremel and some engraving bits just to tidy it all up. And then we'll literally cut it out on a scroll saw. We'll talk about that nearer the time. So there's our CNC bit to sort out. They come in different degrees, 10, 15s. I believe I've got a 20s and 30s over here. And that is basically just the angle of the point at the end there. For measuring wise, depth, I have a little gauge over here somewhere if I just find it quickly. I basically just made one like that. And I work on 3mm, which is literally the same depth or the same thickness as your CNC bit. And I find that's plenty for paint or resin. So I work on 3mm for nearly 80% of my projects. Right, let's get this in the adapter collet. We'll set it to 3mm on our router, remember, and we'll start routing this one out. Right, you can see from that we've gone round all our lines, and like I said previously, just inside the line there, look, in fact if you brush that down you can just about make out the pencil line. So we've routed up to the line, not on the line. It might only seem like fractions, but if you're doing really delicate pieces, you might have that little piece there, look, if you'd gone on the line there and on the line there, that would have narrowed that bit. Because we've gone up, we've more or less got the same on both sides. In my mind it works anyway. Obviously as we're doing one, I'm literally skimming over his little friend there on the left hand side at the same time. That's literally took 5 minutes to do both of those. Seriously, coming out really nice today on this wood. It obviously helps when your wood's nice and dry and nice sharp pieces. So that's the CNC bits done now, so we can gently pour that out. If I can find it over here, you'll get a lot more projects out of that, no problem. So we'll keep that to one side and use that another day. Now we've got our end milling bits. These are great. eBay or Amazon again, remember. They're ideal because they will route out nicely up to the line that we've just cut out. And also, because they have a rough base on them, they'll also route out the bottom section of your piece of wood at the same time. So you don't really get a lot of sanding to do afterwards. But we still like to go around with our little flexi cable on a Dremel and a bit of sandpaper just to tidy up. So for now, we'll just simply slot that in like so. You notice there, I've removed a couple of sections around the eye. These are my sample ones to a depth that I was comfortable with. But for around the eye, so we'll pop this back in the router and we can set it to that same depth like so, and literally just remove out all the shaded areas. We'll do that next. Right, that's our little bee all nicely routed out with the end milling bits. That comes out no problem whatsoever. And you might just be able to see it's fairly smooth, is that. We will sort that out with a little bit of general tidying up. And obviously we've got his little friend there on the opposite side done at the same time. Now for general tidying up, I like to use a flexi cable. I cannot recommend these enough. This is just an eBay special version, but it just attaches to the end of your Dremel, and it's just ideal for holding and cleaning out with. Now for cleaning out with, I use these engraving bits. If you just search Dremel engraving bits, basically, you'll come up with a pack of 10 plus, 30 plus, and they come with round heads on, flat heads on. There's all shapes and forms there, look at the end. And I like to pick one with a nice flat bottom on it, like so, and that's just ideal for a little general tidy up. Just get into these little tight spaces here, give it a nice clean up like so, and then we'll cut it out eventually, and then we'll also come in with a bit of sandpaper just to take those little edges off. Okay, we'll tidy up inside this first, and then we'll get on to the cutting side of things. Right, that's enough general tidying up for me. That's definitely near enough for what we want for these two little projects today. Now the next stage now is to basically just cut them out first. I'm going to use a spiral blade on a scroll saw for mine. I do like to use spiral blades. The good thing about those, because the teeth are spiraled the full length, they will cut in any direction. So you could basically start off in here and cut that out literally just by moving that wood from left to right, like so. And that's ideal for these. Not everybody's cup of tea. You'll either love or hate them. Your standard blade is what they call a pin blade. You just get pins at both edges like so. When it's in your scroll saw, you want the teeth facing towards you. Smooth on the way down, or rough on the way up. You could use this one on this one, no problem. Nothing too complicated. On your more expensive saws, you can use pinless blades. They have a clamp, top and bottom. Same thing again. Teeth smooth on the way down, rough. These are ideal if you've got really delicate pieces where you'll draw a really small pilot hole and get inside with that. If you cut out something really small and detailed, well, obviously with a pin blade you wouldn't get into a small area because those pins would be in the way. Same with your spiral blades. They're a pinless blade and they're also ideal for your tighter areas, but they do take a little getting used to. Unfortunately with my Draper scroll saw, I have to use these adapter clamps. You put one on top and bottom and that basically just hooks onto your saw like so. Same again, smooth on the way down and rough on the way up. That way you know you got your blade in the right way. Okay, we'll simply just pop this spiral blade Pegasus number 5 on the scroll saw and we'll quickly cut these two out. Right, there's our two little bees nicely cut out with the Pegasus number 5 spiral blade. I've certainly got no issues with those and they work fine, no problem whatsoever. We do find the little rough edges there on the end. That's just a simple case of going around with some sandpaper like so, a little bit of tidy up. Takes a matter of minutes and that's all nicely done now. I did have issues about these two little things here dangling, but they seem to be firm enough and I'm quite happy with that. I'll just go around with the sandpaper like so, just to round that edge off slightly, get rid of the remaining pencil lines as we're going to call it, and then we'll be ready for painting. We'll come back when these are tidied up nicely and it's painting time. Right, that's it. All nicely cleaned down. All our lines have gone. We've rounded those edges off slightly. A bit of sandpaper. And we took all our little scuffies off the back. No problem. And there's obviously the same with his little friend here. Right, that's it for the tools wise. Now it's just a simple case of go and finding some paint. We'll pop some nice colour on these. The good thing about inset painting, we can just put our paint in there fairly quick. It doesn't matter if we get it on the outer framework, because we're going to sand over this again to make it all a bit more crispier, and then we'll decide if we're going to paint this outer framework totally black or just put some linseed oil on or a bit of stain and darken it down. But we'll go and find some acrylic paint should I say, And then when we come back, hopefully we'll sand it down and put some nice clear spray varnish on it, just to give it a nice shiny shine. Right, that's it. This little project or projects is finished. Now we've finished them off with some Paint Factory gloss varnish, just give them a nice shine, and you can see from that, that's a nice finish, near enough what I want. It's an okay kind of finish. It certainly won't be the best for outdoor pieces, but these are just fun little projects for me, and I'm not really overly concerned about them, to be honest. For indoor pieces, it'd be fantastic. For outdoor pieces, basically any finish is only going to last for so long. Now, if you remember, I just used cheap acrylic paint to paint it with, and the black I use little Painter's Touch paint. They're great paints for outdoors. I have no problem with them. Now, normally on little projects like this, especially when they went on my shed, I would route out a slit in the back using a key slot bit like so. However, these ones are going on my gate, so I basically have enough room with a screw to put that against the gate and put the screw through the gate and into the back of the piece. You'll see in a minute when we go and put it on the gate itself. So that's it. So it's a couple of little bees, or 1B or 2B. Now that is the question. We routed them out on fencing wood using CNC bits for the lines and end milling bits to clean them out with. We then painted with acrylic paints and painter's tape paint for the black, and then we sprayed a nice Paint Factory clear gloss finish just to finish them off. And they were measuring roughly 6 inches by 6 inches. We'll have a quick measure of that just in case. Yeah, we're going to call it 6 by 6. And that's it. This little project is finished. Give it a go. Just enjoy yourself, that's the main thing. You're not going to win any Carver of the Week award, but they're just fun projects at the end of the day. Remember, just cheap fencing wood, which I'd recommend for someone that's just starting off with their routing, and scroll saw work. Remember Pegger's spiral blade number 5 to cut this one out with. And it's not going to cost you a lot once you get your nice little eBay specials, your CNC bits and your end milling bits. And that's it. This little projects are finished. Thank you very much for watching.